Hello and welcome to another episode of Power On Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Taylor, and with me is the dreadful, the dreary, the demonic Sushi B. How you doing?
Not bad. Happy that we can get this one together. We've had a little bit of an issue putting it together, so
Trying to
good
say
thing it's
that
not
I'm a slouch.
buried 6 feet under, right?
True. But
Yeah,
doing all right then, other than
just extremely busy. But yeah, it's good to get one of these together for sure.
busy.
Always good to talk to you guys.
hmm And by guys, he also is referring to the third there, and that is Mr. Gregor's there. How you doing, Greg?
Swag man.
Yeah.
I was also waiting for the non-athletic sport hating Greg.
Oh.
No, it's good. It's good to talk about it, and I actually listened to that episode recently, a bit of it, and I should have been offended, but I wasn't. I was laughing my ass off.
I was gonna say you had stated before that you weren't the biggest fan of
Yeah.
sports as a whole, so
No, I'm not.
So
We
kind
did
of-
that one in secret.
right. Well,
No,
we was also
you basically did a favor for me. So
We did Greg a solid.
not.
we weren't throwing shade at you, I swear. It was just but how you doing?
No, I'm actually doing good. I'm busy in my own ways. So it's really cool. I came on to this after doing another podcast. So
Yep.
it's like this. I kind of feel like, someone that has to be, was it a radio jockey for a job, which is awesome. They have like their shifts where they go on for like half an hour to an hour. They go take their break and they're on again. Pretty cool.
The big smoke break.
Big smoke break.
The smoke.
Yeah, I'm doing fine, since nobody seemed to want to ask how I was doing.
And we just assume. We
Yeah,
just assume.
yeah, right. And
You got your coffee. You're good.
you act like I needed it. I just wanted to get some. There's like milk to drink or water. That was my choices: coffee, milk, or water.
I'd take the water.
But it's not like I'm putting a whole.
What are you going for, Taylor? Whatever's left over, Greg gets.
Well, I obviously with the coffee there.
Well, Greg, how old is the milk?
It's not old, but it's just
That's good.
I don't
Oh,
drink a lot of milk.
thank God it
Curdled
wasn't.
milk.
Yeah, thank God it wasn't out of date. That was to be the dreaded fourth choice that I've kind of.
He will just drink his own urine, people. That's what he said.
That's the second time this start I've made a urine joke.
Wow.
But it's a
There's
different
a few
podcast.
UFC guys that do that.
Gandhi, I believe, did that as
I'm
well.
serious, yeah. There's a few UFC guys that are just like, they swear up and down that's what gives them their power. It's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Like,
Their own
yeah,
waste.
because everybody else is fucking losing their lunch over it, weakening the field. Oh, that's gross. Okay.
He
So,
made his coffee better.
Old
no,
habits die hard.
As I say, no, I don't have anything. I'm just drinking it straight off the pot there. So it's yep.
Wow.
I
Just right under the drip.
right
just,
under the yeah. Straight off the pot there. But so it's yeah. It's just,
You do anything with the coffee filter after too, or just like,
I chew those bubble gum,
nice,
so it gets that good old
a
coffee
little
taste.
snuff.
Little. But
On
yeah,
with it.
on with it. Well, I think this is going to be an interesting one because I think this is something that.
Serious
That-
and hilarious.
Well, no, it really it depends on the person,
Sure.
and it's a very varied kind of perception towards this sort of thing, and I'd like to talk about death, and I think laughing is also.
Well,
a way to kind of
that's pretty
break
much your opinion on it. Just
well, no, it's yeah, it's
big chuckle.
yeah, pretty much, but no, I'd like to talk about it because I think it's an interesting phenomenon that either we, well, like what's that? I think what was it? Stalin said something about how like one person dying is a tragedy, but a million dying is a statistic.
Mm.
And it's something that's really
He's one to talk.
yeah, I
right?
know. Kind of like the high score leaderboard of killing people
Yeah,
there.
he's pretty up there.
Genocide.
So I could be wrong, but I could have swore he
Not
was
directly, I guess, like physically doing it, but
But it's I don't know, like because everybody has their own experiences with it, and maybe they have a near-death experience, or they have family members passed away and stuff. Especially we're getting at the age where kind of looking at that changing of the guard, where our parents are slowly getting to the point where they're going to get old and pass away. Everybody's going to die. You can't cheat it out there. What's the one like Groucho Marx thing there? He's like, I tend to live forever or die trying, kind of thing, trying to keep it comical. But I don't know. For such a heavy topic, I want to get the heavy lifting done by you two before me, just because it makes it easier, my job easier. So
so you're just gonna sit back and drink your coffee another.
I've rambled on long enough to just kind of open the subject up. So
All right. Well, if you guys don't mind, I'll channel some
There you
energy
go.
then. Sure. I mean, when we first had mentioned doing this topic, I mean, pretty much the first thing that came to mind for me was just the view of death is that it's either sort of respected or feared or what's the other word I'm kind of appreciated in a way. It's just kind of like one of those things. I mean, there's definitely other things that people might view of death, but just by different peoples around the world and how when somebody dies, just the way the situation is taken care of or whatnot, and it's very interesting just to see just how different rituals and acceptance or just lack of acceptance of death being a part of our lives. I think maybe mostly now people are a lot less fearful of death in a way until it's coming, right? Like I think
well,
people
I think
are a
it's
lot
out of
more
their
sort of
mind.
yeah, they're just kind of like, or they're very accepting of it before it happens, like well before. They're just kind of like, I'm going to die someday. And then once it starts to become a reality, they sort of start to get the fear then. But prior to, they're just not necessarily like, I'm going to live forever, but just more, oh, I'm going to die at some point. And it's like, yeah, and that's probably a decent attitude to have about it to a point. But, things are finite, so you have to sort of, I think you got to go beyond that sort of where everyone's just like, live for every day. Every moment is precious, and it's just like that is true, but nobody legitimately lives like that. I mean,
No.
We do have mundane lives at times and so forth. So.
Well, I don't know. It's I think in a way that there is that, at least from when I grow up and from where I grew up and stuff. There is that. As a child, you don't even think about it because it's not something that, if you are fortunate enough, you have no brush with. You don't brush up with death when you're as a kid usually. Maybe if you have a great grandparent or some accident happens, but generally, pet dying is usually kind of one of the first
typically of
kind of
acknowledgments of the situation.
Right, but even then, it's still. We have this, I think this is, a religious aspect of it is that death isn't the end. It's really just, you've just graduated, or you've been demoted, kind of.
A lot of people might be demoted.
Well, I think that sort of thinking, it just kind of, I don't think people really accept it by saying, oh yeah, I'm going to die sometime, because they become fearful of it when it comes up later. I mean, because I think, what's his name? Sir Francis Bacon. You guys know who he is?
Yes.
Greg?
Actually, no.
No. Well, he, I think some people kind of want to point towards him as being the potential for like one of the writers of all, like not all, but a lot of the Shakespearean works. He's pretty What was it? Was it? But it's not. It's look him up. I don't want to derail it to go into it, but I think he has a good way of kind of putting it. Is that men kind of fear death as children fear to go in the dark. So as the natural fear in children is increased by tales of things that are scary and unknown, it's the same for the other. And that because we don't know this sort of thing, we become fearful of it. And even though we say, oh yeah, we're going to die sometime, it's because of that unknown. And they don't come to terms with that even as a young age. They just kind of push it off.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't think I really don't think it's a healthy thing where they kind of push it off and they don't do that thing. I'd rather have somebody saying, try to make every day unique or live for the moment kind of thing, because I think that's a better mindset to have than saying, oh yeah, I'm going to die sometime. Because that doesn't tell me anything. Yeah.
It depends. It depends on what the context is too, right? As you're saying. Personally, I don't. I'm not saying I don't agree with somebody who says that, but often those people that are saying live for the moment are the same people they'll get drunk and party all night and then they'll be hungover the whole next day. So it's kind of like that balance is a little bit off in a way.
No, I mean they're living for that moment, but they're just paying the price.
They are,
later.
but
that's not really
but
it's a trade-off.
Those are the people that are also the trade-off there is a bit awkward to me. It's like.
Well, but they're just putting a higher value on that sort of thing,
I suppose,
socializing than you do. That's really all. It's not that I don't condone it. I too don't really see the I don't want to say merit, but just the value of getting wasted. But I don't think those people that shout carpe diem and all that sort of stuff always kind of gravitate. There are quite a lot of people that do that, but
but isn't that even misinterpreted? That's not even the original meaning of it? That sort of like seize the day or whatever.
Right.
It's much longer, that whole blurb or quote or whatever it is.
Right. Well, that's kind of usually how we are, though. Is we just take the parts we like, and
it's the cliff notes of it. Right? Yeah, this is kind of what it says. So.
Well, what's that? Don't. That's like like Buddha kind of has something similar to that, or at least words accredited to Buddha is like to be idle is a short road to death, kind of thing, and to be diligent is a way of life. Foolish people are idle, so perhaps you see that kind of interaction, that sort of life as bit idle, and then wise people are diligent, so they're working on things. Chop chop, but. I don't know. Well,
chop,
it's just chop chop.
Again, in context.
Well, I mean, being diligent about certain things, you can be diligent about a lot of different things, and let's look at, just look at how old timey Japan would be diligent on doing certain things, making swords, or perfecting this freaking dish or something like that.
Wheel.
Right. So but in the end, could they just be all they're doing is like rehashing tread there that kind of might not have needed it, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that's another ball game, right? When you're talking about sort of Confucius societies and so forth. Of the more work you're doing, obviously the better work you're doing. But
that's right.
Anyways, that's not the topic today.
Nope.
Sort of
derailed. But no.
Has Greg died on us? He hasn't said anything.
I have become Ephraim.
I
am all knowing. I am everywhere. I am all knowing.
Tell us all knowing.
Yeah, lottery numbers tomorrow.
Is it aliens?
In what context?
In all contexts. You just ask any of those dudes on that show.
No, I will say this now. Most of the people who fear death have the most to live for, especially when something happens. And, you know, there's different ways. If someone goes and they go in absolute fear, that means they don't believe they've set out what they wanted to do or they wanted more. And then there's some other people that when they accept it, it's kind of their way of saying, I've lived what I've wanted to do and, you know, it's my time. So I can definitely say this when Taylor said you've had near-death experiences. I've nearly drowned 4 times, and you know that's it for the beach for me.
Let's say 5th one, you get a free sub from the sounds of it.
Yeah, and a Slurpee.
The last time I was screaming at someone help me. It doesn't matter who it was, you know. And, you know, if I was prepared to go, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd just be like bobbing under the water. But no, I wanted to be saved. And yeah, luckily the waves pushed me back and I was able to live another day.
It
That was
sounds
kind of like
my swimming lessons, Gray.
no, I'm done. Like, it's got to be in a pool or a lake or a bathtub or a shower, but no.
Swimming in the bathtub.
a
lake. A lake.
Lake's pretty damn dangerous.
You got like those brain amoebas.
No, well, lake's always been good for me because it's just been calm. It's been nice. No, the waves has always screwed me over. I can never.
The waves.
Never could deal with waves.
What about a wave pool, like at a swimming pool? No, I'm serious. Would that make you uncomfortable?
No,
I'm serious.
No, because that's still just a patch of water just with waves. I mean, that versus the fucking ocean. You know, there's vast difference.
The ocean's a scary place. I mean,
so yeah, but that's when I've had basically more my near-death experiences. And it just made me feel it's like, hey, I don't think I'm finished what I'm set to do. You know, there's a lot of people. I think once they're content with their life and they've lived a happy life, they've met a lot of people. You know, a lot of people have loved them and liked them, and you know they're content. Yeah, they'll be willing to go. Sadly, I've known a lot of family members that they were happy to go because they were in a lot of pain towards the end. Both my grandma and grandmother. I was actually taking care of my grandmother before she passed away. The months, or say a full year before she passed away. And I could tell that she was happy because she had difficulties with a lot of things and in a lot of pain. So, you know, it was kind of released. And a lot of people, you know, it's one of those polarizing opinions, you know, both sides of the fence. You know, people want to keep relatives as long as they possibly can. And then there's other people on the other side saying when they go, you know, if they're at the age of 70 or 80, depending on the situation, most of the times they accept it, you know. And it is a hard polarizing opinion because I don't want to get too much into euthanasia and all that bullshit because it is a touchy subject, you know, and it's still debated really heavily here in Australia.
I was going to say you actually have right now. I think there's this woman. I think she's I haven't fully read in detail about it, but I heard that she has a really severe case of cancer, and she is choosing to end her life shortly after her husband's birthday, and she's 29. And you know, for some people, because I talked to my dad about this a little bit because just recently there was somebody a town away from us who we know the mother and her son killed himself, and he's around our age. Fortunately, things hadn't gone quite so well for him in life. He felt really depressed about things, and he decided to take his own life. And you get into, I think it's good to have this kind of discussion about euthanasia and stuff because. And suicide because it's stuff that we people should talk about because these things happen and I think that's something that we might have conflicting opinions about, but if we have conflicting opinions, perhaps we can discuss these and have dialogues to kind of make sense of where each other's coming from. Because personally, I I can understand where trying to keep a family member alive for as long as possible, how that can feel incredibly greedy of the family.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather went through Alzheimer's really bad, and it like it it pained me to see that kind of thing, because I didn't get to really like I up until about early years in high school, no, even in high school. No, early years in high school is what he was still kind of fine, but then he started to go really, really like really bad into later in high school and stuff, and it really pained me to the point that it felt bad that like I couldn't stand myself being there, because it just, to me, he had lost the essence of what my grandfather is, even though he could have been, he's in there. I don't, but like it's just such a painful experience, and you could see it in his eyes that it was a painful experience back, because he sees these people, and deep down inside he might recognize them, but he's not able to emote that. He can't convey that he recognizes, or he just is completely lost it. And it's just, you don't want to say, oh yes, let them go because it's painful, but in the same hand, you get to a point where that they should, on their terms, be willing to be like, yeah, but then you're like, well, is it greedy for them to be doing that too? Like with this woman who's 29 and she's got all this pain and stuff. Personally, I don't like it. I really don't, because I feel like if you, because I don't think there's any sort of thing afterwards, after we die. I don't think there's, level 2 kind of thing. So
I think we'll save that for a little bit as well. Yeah, it'd be a good discussion to talk about the afterlife, so to speak.
Well, right. Well, I'm just gonna say that, and we can catch up on that later. But I don't think I would hope that if you have this life, that you would fight to try to keep it much as your life as possible. And I understand it gets to a point where you can't. So it's kind of like at that point, it's a very conflicting thing. So, but
I just want to touch upon that. Another granddad of me, he had Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's disease into one, and he basically wasn't the man that I knew when I was a kid, and it really was sad to see him become that. He was trapped in a prison of his own illnesses, and at that point, it's just like, I was constant, was it talking to me, my dad was like, if we got like that, it's like, nah, I'd rather go. I know it's terrible to say that, but if you have no control over anything, and you pretty much lost who you were, and like Taylor says, it's buried deep down inside without the ability to ever resurface, then there's a difference between living and existing.
So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, there, Mr. Sushi B?
You guys have kind of covered all the bases there. I mean, it is really tricky, obviously, and obviously in different societies and stuff, it's going to be accepted differently. So I mean, it almost comes down to a case-by-case situation. I suppose, like in the case Greg had mentioned, in that case, the person, I suppose, they can't really make the choice. And so I don't know how the argument of being greedy there plays out quite as significantly. But,
well, think of it like for the family, it's greedy.
From the family side, yes.
Well, that's what I mean in that. But if somebody's is consciousable enough to make that choice, it could be perceived as greedy, because they are they're choosing to do it on their terms, and they're kind of like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do, and
sort of selfishness.
In a way, it kind of feels like that. I mean, but then you also have that kind of the other. Are you to the point where you aren't the self that you can't even like convey your essence, yourself, kind of thing.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, it's case by case.
It is.
I don't know.
You know,
It's tough. Do you want to be the doctor as well? That's got to be there to do it. I mean, that's another moral issue, right? I mean,
it also plays the connection that you have with the person. The greater the connection, the greater that you may want them around, or depending on the situation, as you said. There was a lot of family members, like my granddad, who actually passed away last year. I consider him my favorite teacher out of everyone. And I'm one of those people that there are lots of things in this world teach you everything, but my granddad taught me a lot of great stuff. And the best thing he passed on to me was he was the one person that basically told me, taught me everything to be a good human being. Not religion, not other things. He was, in essence, like one of the best people on this planet. And he basically, all those around him, he taught how to respect others and just to treat everyone, just fantastically. And, there was one part of me was like, yeah, I would be cool, because he was late 80s, and I really wanted to see him push 90, or just beyond that. So it was kind of a shock when he went the way he went. But that kind of was me being a little bit greedy, say, hey, I want him around for a lot longer, But at the same time, he's lived a really, really good life, So it is a bit touch and go, like I said, and feeling both sides, And, the more you love someone, the more you want them to be around as long as humanly possible.
And that's and I think that's because of just how at least first world societies are. We don't really deal as much with death in an unnatural way, in the sense of, say, sure, yeah, there are the the statistics of X amount of people die from homicides and that sort of thing, but we don't have as much of those violence, those violent incidences where 40 people dead kind of thing, or 150 people dead, or towns razed like we back in the good old days. And
you call it the Viking days, the good old days.
And it's just we don't interact with it as much, so we do kind of try to push it off, and hope to keep going, and we for the most part we don't get a choice into when we get to go, so it's kind of, I don't want to do it that way kind of thing. So
Yeah.
So, but like what Greg's saying, that if you can honestly say that after the person has passed, that they've had a good life, or at least a one where you can take the things that they've taught you or have passed to you in one way or another, I think that's probably the greatest way to kind of show respect towards that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I actually want to touch upon just very quickly, just as a interesting topic of conversation, is basically ceremonies, funerals. The different sort of cultures around the world. Because me being Irish, strangely enough, I've never been a part of a wake, but it is a big tradition in Ireland that once someone dear to family and friends has been deceased, everyone goes to the local pub for pretty much all of the night and all the morning and get absolute shit-faced as their way of remembering the deceased. And I can't remember the specifics of how they go about it, but drinking their sorrows. But there's also a spiritual meaning behind it. But I remember the first time I heard about that from some of my relatives, and I'm just like, really? Because, I've grown up in a society that's very clean-cut. You either go to a funeral or you go to a ceremonial procession for the, visiting the gravestone or scattering the ashes. There's different ways of people doing ceremonies. I'm just wondering if there's any other kinds of ceremonies that you two have heard about as well.
Miss Sushi B.
Oddly enough, I was kind of just dabbling, looking at the topic prior to, obviously, before we recorded, and I saw some of the interesting rituals from around the world, and obviously there's historical rituals that are quite shocking and sometimes really gruesome and stuff. But leaving the bodies in the sun so the vultures eat them and stuff from.
Oh, what is that's in the Tibetan area. What is that? The
Yeah,
sky
yeah.
burial?
But even before that, there were other societies that did that kind of thing and stuff, right? But I think they still might do it in Tibet.
Is that kind of a form of returning the body to the earth through?
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
Right.
And, there's a bunch of other ones. I read one about the Vikings. I mean, many people are aware of the ships being sent off and then
the pyre.
Put on the pyre. And I read this one about if some sort of noble person or someone of a higher stature, they often had sort of like slave girls and stuff. And there was this one I read about. I don't know how true it is or not, but they said that the slave girl was sent around like the village to please all the men and everything, and then she was like they would hang her and they would like disembowel her and all this stuff, and then put her body in with this other, I don't know what he was, a king or whatever, but pretty gruesome. And what was the one in India where if the husband died, the woman had to set herself on fire so that she would follow him to the afterlife?
Yeah, something like that.
It's quite twisted, right? I mean, it's.
I would say it's twisted. It's just right. Yeah, just from our perspective, that's a very what the fuck.
Right, well, when male dominates society and stuff, right? She could cheat on him, she could take his money or whatever. She could have killed him to get his money and so forth, and so very interesting sort of.
One of the older ones, most people that will read about history, of course, is the pharaohs. All their slaves and servants were usually thrown in to the tombs with them when they died. Because to them they were his property. So, yeah.
Gotta takes it with you.
Not too fun.
Kind of thing. I mean, you got the one that always kind of stuck in my head was my Japanese teacher in college. She told us one time about how a funeral that they had in Japan, I don't remember, was it for her grandmother or one of her aunts or something, but they'd gotten, I don't know how they got it, but I think they had burnt the rest of the body or something, but they had a bone, and the bone was passed from chopstick to chopstick to everybody in the room. And I'm just like, I do not want to be in that kind of situation for fear of dropping it, for one thing.
Right.
Right.
I mean, how big of a bone would it have been? Like a finger bone?
I don't quite remember how big the bone was, but it just I remember her telling me this, and I'm just like, that is very different, but you kind of just pass the bone around.
Imagine bumbling that; it would be quite.
Oh, it would be
embarrassing and
that would be
shameful, probably. Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine that one. One thing in Taiwan, I don't know all the details, but I remember often like walking out to work and stuff, and these little sort of shed type places would be rented out if someone had passed away, and they would have the photo of the person and lots of flowers and things, and often lots of food. I can't remember exact explanation. If somebody knows, if you guys know, I'd love to hear it. But I think the food was sort of to either keep the bad spirits away from the person who passed away, like they would eat the food instead of the soul of the person who had just passed, or something to that effect, sort of like their ghost money thing that they do monthly. But they would also have these sort of floats that would just drive around the city at, I kid you not, like Sunday morning at like 6 a.m. and they would just have this music cranking. Like, I don't even know how to explain the music. Like really loud. And I know I wouldn't want to be disrespectful about it, but I was like, that's also really disrespectful to be going around at like really early in the morning like that. But if that's what the situation is for, I mean, that's what it's for. But yeah, it was really interesting just being at home, and you'd hear this and you'd be like, what is going on? Like, what is this all about? And Korea's kind of got that. I know that I've heard like technically you're supposed to mourn for 3 years after someone passes away. I don't know like how often you're supposed to be involved in some sort of capacity of mourning, but I know that they do like the tomb sweeping in Taiwan as well, where they go at least once a year and sort of clean around the grave sites and stuff and cut the grass and that kind of thing. Yeah, whereas, like in North America, at least we have city workers that do that sort of thing, go into the cemeteries or some sort of caretakers that do that.
Right. Silence.
There's actually
that's
some
dead silence.
It's actually something I wanted to bring up because it's actually really interesting. We've talked about the different ways, it can even be buried in the ground, it can be cremated. There's one actually I haven't touched upon yet that I'm actually considering because if it can benefit mankind, then I think it's awesome. Of course, it's donating your body to science. And that is something worth considering just in case there might be something inside you that might be causing some sort of illness, and who knows, you may be the missing link to finding a cure. And I know it's a long
The missing
shot.
link.
It just sounds the missing link. It just sounds
The
funny.
missing link. But yeah, I'm totally for that. I mean, I used to watch those shows, those what do you call them? Starts with A.
Autopsy?
Basically the shows where they take a human cadaver and open it up to see. I used to be on the foreign TV. I watched a couple of episodes and then it's just like, yeah, I think I'm done.
Like an autopsy?
Anatomy. I think it's an anatomy episode. Yeah.
Anatomy's Grey's Anatomy. Or
Grey's
whatever.
Anatomy?
Yeah.
That was scary for another reason.
I was gonna say I hadn't. Yeah, there's one that I seen that was I thought was kind of cool. Was that they would put your body in a bag and they would introduce a fungus to it, and so the fungus would start to eat at the body and whatnot, and then you can just kind of have a I don't want to say natural, but I mean more in line with nature kind of thing. Because personally, I would rather have. I don't want any like casket burning body. I'd rather that my body just kind of be fed to the wolves kind of thing. Let my because it's more of the
Taylor's gonna run with the wolves.
it's not really you're dead.
I know what you mean. Just, I understand. Just interesting.
Let the elements and the particles and everything that makes up my body be returned back into the earth that way, not burned up and kind of floating in the sky.
So would you be opposed to just being thrown in a ditch then?
No, because I'm dead. Last time I checked, dead people don't have anything to say about.
Right. So why are you so opposed to the cremation then?
Well,
you're just saying you're just dead. So
well, more in the sense of I'd rather that my body be kind of fed back to the earth, like to the ground, not just kind of burnt up. Because when you burn up everything, you lose the carbons and whatnot.
Oh, the water and everything, obviously.
Right. So you lose a lot of that, and then it just kind of through the combustion, and then just you just get a bunch of smoke.
Would you be opposed to being rocketed straight into the sun?
That'd be pretty sweet, but that sounds kind of greedy.
A little bit. It'd be pretty awesome.
It's a bit greedy.
It causes a supernova. keeps the Earth heated for another 3,000
Well, the supernova
years.
would destroy the Earth. But,
I know, but a little solar flare that doesn't destroy the Earth or something.
But yeah, no, it'd be kind of cool, but I don't see it happening. But it would be incredibly greedy to do that kind of thing.
Well, and I wonder if it's such an offbeat thing, but if that somehow could fuel the sun, like if we were rocketing tons of bodies into the sun or something,
we must feed the
keep
sun.
it alive for X amount of billions.
We must feed on the flesh of the dead. Zombie sun.
I'm sure it would start getting quite costly after a while. But...
Oh, God.
The star drive isn't working.
Oh man. Well,
start
I think
feeding
that's
a black hole that eats the sun or something that eats the Earth.
I think it's kind of something interesting is that it's the particles in your hand in both of your hands could come from two entirely different dead suns or dead stars from eons ago. If you think about it, which I think that's kind of cool, but that's for
Taylor
another time.
crushed his hands together, and the solar system was born.
not to that degree, but the
radioactive waste.
No, But how about yourself there when you die? What's a thought in your mind there, Sushi, of what you want done with your body?
No, I'm not opposed to sort of like the way you said in nature. I don't know if I'm not opposed to the wolves eating me, but that wouldn't be my first choice, I
Well,
guess.
I mean, I'm
I
already
mean,
dead.
just being
I don't want to be
plain
eaten
buried
by
into the
wolves.
ground.
Right.
Well, just like being plain buried into the ground kind of thing, without the casket or whatnot
Uh-huh.
would really bother me. I don't really have a preference. Like as you sort of said, once you're kind of dead, it doesn't matter that much. But I see where you're coming from with that. It's sort of being the cycle of nature is continuing. It's being reused for something that's seemingly viable for another generation of whatever animals, plants, whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The sun thing is pretty cool though. So if that's a viable option, and if it does somehow benefit the earth, I mean, I would certainly probably take up on that one. I do have, I don't know if it's still valid because I don't live in Canada anymore, but when you're a kid, you get your healthcare cards and you can check on the back, like after you pass away, that your internal organs or whatever that could be useful from your body be donated to somebody else that could use it to obviously live or be saved. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that or opposed to that, or I mean, personally, I don't have a problem.
No.
If you're relatively healthy, depending on your age and whatnot, if your I don't know, liver or something can save another life, I don't see why you would be so opposed to that. But I know some people really are. But personally, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
No, I think,
Go ahead, Greg.
no, I brought up before donating your body to science. So to be perfectly honest, if I'm dead, I wouldn't have a saying in like my body's like if the spirit says, I'm not saying no, don't take my liver that I'm not using anymore. No.
It's
If it
still
can, if it
mine,
can say,
goddammit. You can't pry it
yeah,
off of
yeah.
my dead gold fingers.
So yeah,
What if they take your
can
fingers?
Then I'm screwed.
Use-
I'm screwed.
Just be nothing but a spine and a brain, like floating in cerebral spinal fluid or something, sending brain signals. Anyways, yeah, great. It sounded like, because you said, Greg, if you seem to be fine with donating your body to scientific experiments, I don't see why you would be opposed to giving up, internal organs or something.
yeah.
I wouldn't be either, but
You want to be intact for those wolves,
I want to be intact for they're mighty hungry wolves.
the bears, the wolves.
Yeah, I would prefer a bear eat me than over wolves.
I don't know. That's pretty low on the fucking things I want to die from list there. Being eaten.
No, I think he
by
means
something.
after you're already
After.
you're down and
Oh,
out for the count.
okay. But now yeah, no, I just I wouldn't have an issue with it personally. I mean, if somebody can benefit from a liver or a lung or something, cool.
Mhm.
But that sort of thing's like out of my hands by that point, kind of.
I think, I mean, in the case, like, if you could sign off on, like, I had to
Right.
sign
Well,
off
well,
on
yeah,
the
you can
card
do
prior
that
to, right?
in the States.
Would you guys do that, or?
In the States they have the thing where if you on your ID, if you get into an accident or something, you can have like a donor mark on it and stuff, and
Right.
you can donate organs to help others.
Which might be, who knows with like this sort of cloning issues, if that's
The stem
even going
cell.
to continue. Well, if that's
Right.
going to continue in the near future, if the cloning thing sort of goes through and people are fine with it, maybe we'll stop donating.
Start growing
organs from people that were alive. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know.
Just a little bit off track that I think is a interesting thing to say is because of all the hobbies we're into and all the forms of entertainment, you've probably come across one story or another that touches on the thought of immortality, and it's actually kind of interesting to watch these characters and how they feel, because I would say 8 times out of 10 most of these people that have been immortal for thousands of years, they have had enough. they, it shows you that their life is not infinite, and just to see this paradox where it is infinite, and these people that basically originally wanted to live forever, and they get to that stage where they basically desire nothing but death because they've lived for too long, and there is that saying that you can sort of understand and feel with them, and you can sort of learn from it as well at the same time.
Well, I think that's where the kind of Greek gods had they had envy of man because man was
mortals.
mortal, right? So, I mean, that's been a thought process has been around for thousands of years. Is that for some people they usually the people that kind of laugh about wanting this running immortality and stuff usually don't do anything on Sundays. They're just kind of sitting around being lackadaisical about things.
Clipping toenails.
Clipping toenails and sniffing farts and that sort of thing. But
an eternity of sniffing farts. You could use those farts to fuel the sun.
Maybe that's the ingredient for the. Maybe that's the ingredient for mortality fart.
Well, sniffing farts does help the immune system. There was a thing about that, but
painful way to die.
But it's like I think that that immortality thing, it stems from that initial, in your teens, you're gonna live forever kind of thing. There's nothing gonna bring me down, sort of thing, and. After you get past those first few initial years and realize that you are mortal, you're probably thanking your lucky stars because I don't see, unless it was some idyllic kind of place, I really do not see the benefits of immortality. You're gonna need to create one hell of a PowerPoint for me there to tell me what's good or not about immortality.
And that's just so I love RPGs, but do I want to be around for 200 more years to see what happens to the genre? I don't know. I'm getting fed up with it nowadays with some of the new stuff coming out. You will be the
genre at that point. I've leveled up to impossible levels.
Well, I think that's where I don't want any sort of immortality in the sense of living kind of thing. No, thank you. I'm fine. But I would much rather have the what's the word?
The memory.
Well, not even the memory. No. I would much rather have things that I've done last beyond me kind of thing. Not to be forgotten sort of thing. In that regard. Yeah. That's my immortality, That's the Achilles for the name kind of thing there.
I think that's a more rational fear, is not the fear of death, but the fear of to be forgotten. And, over time, most things will be forgotten, But if you do leave this world, you hope that a handful of people that have been changed by your existence in good ways,
But I think this would be an appropriate time to bring up something that might cause a kerfluffle, and that kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, and that was the whole kind of after death sort of thing.
Yeah, and this is where you're going to get the weirdest non-reasonings out of me, because I still. I don't think there is a big. You can have a gut feeling and a guess, but I'm at that stage where I'm like, I don't know what awaits us.
Well, nobody does. That's what pisses me off, is that you have. I'm sorry, you have people that you have other mortal people telling me what's going to happen after I die.
Yeah,
you guys. Unless you have some sort of, secret power that I don't, then you don't know what's going to happen after death more than I do.
Sinner.
I know,
Excommunicate.
blasphemer! I know.
Excommunicate. Excommunicate.
Okay.
I know, and if my mom does happen to listen to this, hi mom, she would probably be really, really upset with me because
Taylor will no longer be joining us on the podcast.
she would be, because she's very
Starting
religious.
episode number.
She's very religious, so she believes that, after you die, there's the heaven, and if people are bad, there's the hell kind of thing. Maybe not to the extent.
There's the heaven, there's the hell.
Maybe not like that.
There's the doorway.
That poignant or that simplified, but it's just like she believes that there's the life after it, life after death kind of thing, and I'm just kind of like, why? Just think for a moment. Just think for 5. I'll give you 5 to 10 seconds. I'll give you 10. I'll be generous. I'll give you 10 seconds. Tell me what you were doing before you were born.
Floating in a fluid.
Before the fluid and the wiggling.
Before your conception. Before your conception. I understand, yeah, we don't have memories of it and stuff because whatever, but it's kind of like, what? Like, even up until... my earliest memories don't start kicking in until I'm about 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm probably a bit after that even. I'm probably like 4 or 5 maybe. I mean, there's a lot of those people that have those bullshit stories. They're like, I totally remember being like 8 months old. And it's like, no, you didn't.
I remember when Goo Goo Gaga.
Maybe you've seen pictures or something, and you could be like, well, I remember that, but it's probably linked to a later memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's one that it's very dusty memory, but it's like walking down the hallway or something, and there's a bunch of pictures in the hallway and stuff, and how I describe it, my mom says it's just like where my grandparents used to live in Arizona, so it's kind of like, oh, okay. So I was like 2 or something at the time.
That's some spooky shit. That's what that is.
Well, it's just it's such a weird memory because it's not really connected to anything. It's just this little clip in my head that I can kind of draw up and be like, oh yeah, and then it just goes black. So I don't know if I just drop like. Well, I mean, but then it goes black.
Taylor lost communication with the other side.
Well, it just yeah, the other Taylor came out. And,
other Taylor.
And nothing.
Doc Taylor.
And nothing kind of comes about until I like the very first night I was in Ohio, which is when I was like 3 or 4 or something. So there's that's it. That's all I got from back then, kind of thing. I don't know. I just bumped my head too much or something or what. But so from that, why is it that you go from this nothingness and then you're born? And then you have this existence, and then you die, but then you keep the same existence after you die? Just, especially like in the
argument would be because you existed at one point, I guess. I don't know.
But you're gonna tell me that's like the I don't know. It just seems.
I'm not going to tell you anything because
you don't know. All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's many different reasoning what people believe, what they think is going to happen. So they reckon the spirit is born from all the basically everything that's been that's lived into the mind. The mind becomes the spirit. All that jazz, And there's no solid proof, But all those stories of people that they die and they come back to life and think they've seen the afterlife. You have to ask yourself, is it because they saw it, or is it because that's what their mind has fed them to believe,
It's what their mind feeds them. I think there's something, I can't remember what it is, but it's something in the brain that emits this chemical to be like, okay, you're done. Instead of, having this harsh, oh, I'm being ate by a lion, this meta moment where you're like, oh, this is really painful and not very fun. You get this huge kick. I don't want to say of endorphins, but I don't know, something else. But you get this huge hallucinogenic thing where, from what they're kind of theorizing, is that after you've kind of hit that moment of, shut off in 3, 2, it kind of everything just becomes your fantasy, and whatever you believe is what comes to be. So I'm looking ahead to a very dark existence, evidently. Or I'll just
Taylor's back to the dark ages.
Or I'll just kind of float through the universe. I'll take that one. I will float through the universe for my afterlife. Thank you.
Okay, I'm still taking rocket to the sun. So. Greg's
you
got
know-
whatever's left.
Do you know what the messed up thing for the longest time, my teens and all that? I actually wanted to. I didn't think that I remember he says I didn't think I was destined for, the good or the bad. I wanted to be sent to basically purgatory because I think that was, and just wander around aimlessly. That's what I used to think. I'm like, yeah.
It's not
You
quite
know?
hell. I'm cool with it.
Greg's going to ramble on.
No, it's just like, I don't know why I thought that way. I thought because I was so, adamant about being the neutral guy when I was in high school, not sort of getting too, even though I treat people with respect, I didn't want to do bad things or I didn't want to, do anything good for the school either, It's just coasting.
I didn't want to do good things for the school, but I didn't want to do bad things. Just wanted to be there. Greg's on walkabout.
But there are so many different beliefs, and of course the heaven and hell is the main thing most people talk about. And it's back in the 90s, religion was still really rife. I remember there was one in the school system where they always have the Friday sort of church sort of session in the morning, and the teacher would come to this classroom. So it was just a normal primary school. And, people believe that.
Or who?
Sorry?
What kind of person?
Like a pastor?
Oh, just a Christian. I think it was just a Christian teacher, but not so
Okay.
much like someone who was like a priest or
Ordained
a vicar or anything. No. And the thing was, I think after, was it Y2K, they stopped doing that. I heard they stopped doing that class because that was the main thing that they were teaching them, that, Y2K was going to be
The end.
Yeah, that was going to be
Oops.
the end, And then that didn't happen, and I think they cancelled it. So, in this day
They
and age...
canceled the apocalypse.
Fuck that one up, didn't we? Whoops. I was about to say, anybody
We're going for
that's kinda,
donuts.
well,
Okay.
that always kind of pisses me off in a way, because if
When
they're
this
going...
stuff doesn't happen,
Well, no, but more of
they attribute it to being, we got the date wrong.
Well, but it's like they have all... When somebody who says they're Christian believes in a certain, the apocalypse is going to happen, because of this event,
Mm-hmm.
it's there's things in the Bible that says that no man will know the end of time, the end of days kind of thing, or the approach of the end of days. So, you're kind of... I mean, there's a lot of other things you could kind of point out that being hypocritical about, but that one in general is just kind of really, guys, it says it in the damn book. You don't know. So don't try to feed me this that you've figured it out through numerology or by seeing the warts on a hog's ass to to know
I've seen it.
when it's going to happen.
A broken wind from the buttocks.
Because you don't know. Because that's...
And
Well, there's a lot of... Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say, in 2014, unlike the 90s, it kind of fallen on this stalemate where the belief of a lot of religions have just fallen, just drastically fallen. And like I said, it's just a lot of agnostics and atheists and all that, with their own beliefs and non-beliefs, And like I said before, like Taylor's just said then, we don't know because, there's been so much doubt thrown into the mix. People they either don't have an idea, or two, they don't even have a care. It's just one of those either things. I mean, I was going to touch upon Buddhism about how, they think the spirit passes from one thing to another, and depending on your deeds and misdeeds is what you're going to get reincarnated into. And I basically said, those hardcore Buddhists that weren't even hurt an ant. And I basically read up on that and said, holy fuck, if reincarnation's true, I'm screwed. Because I've probably wiped out a legion of ants, like green ants. Like, if you know what green ants are in Australia, they bite you, it hurts. It really freaking hurts.
But do they hurt more than fire ants?
They're near and fire ants is probably the step up from green ants. But green ants, really painful. Like, if I see them, I get rid of them fast. But, fly, the whole insect thing, because, some people like to swat insects or swat spiders or whatever. if Buddhism was real, you'd be screwed. You'd be screwed.
You're screwed for all the animals you've eaten.
Yeah, exactly. You're basically you're chicken feeding your next life. And of course,
I mean, even eating anything in general, because plants.
Plants.
I mean, they have their own. I guess they're kind of finding out that plants have this. I don't want to say scream about them, but they have this. They emit this kind of noise or something that we can't hear, or we can't we can't sense, that they kind of emit whenever it's getting killed or they're being trampled on, kind of thing, or we're doing harm to them.
Wouldn't that make vegetarians extremely
well, I mean, but
terrified, right?
But it kind of,
I don't mean in a rude way, just that, imagine that, like, just how, people say about, and I agree with, like, ethical treatment of animals, but just if we all of a sudden found out, like, something more
it's
advanced about plants, it would be like, whoa.
We're right, because we just see it, there's, like, absolutely nothing to it, but it's like, they completely seem to not even neglect, just kind of don't even think of the possibility.
There's no acknowledgement of it. It's just
right.
It's just a plant.
It's a plant.
We know it's a living thing, but
it's not.
Once you pick it out, it is.
Yeah, well, it's just, it kind of goes back to the whole, like, Mother Gaia thing, that the Earth itself is conscious and it's doing things. And it's like, I don't like this. You gotta stop this real quick. Guys, come on. So.
I wonder, in that case, would it only be ethical if fruit or something fell from the plant on its own?
Well, I would say, because you're keeping the plant from having the potential to, plant itself more, possibly, if that's how that seeds are spread. But if you poop those seeds out,
if you take out the seeds
and plant them, maybe, but
then we can start blaming the wind or whatever.
Damn wind.
We'll start noticing, like, those whispers in the wind are actually like some sort of being or something.
Some sort of demonic being. The Zephyr. So, I don't know, there was another thing. There was religion. I guess this is kind of an important thing. I mean, if we all had to choose a way to die, I think we'd all kind of
probably not pick drowning.
No.
I don't even mean that's just you, Greg. I think most people would not want that way to go.
Which is kind of a weird thing, because you hear how, like, some people who've nearly drowned, that it's almost
calming, but
right, that it's
but it's also terrifying, right?
Well, right, there's that initial set of, like, you're terrified.
Your lungs are filled with.
Once it starts to kind of set in, once the brain's like, you're dying. Okay, time to hang it up, kind of thing. That's the same thing with, like, those kind of what the hell is it called? Hypothermia and stuff. You get to a point where you get so cold that you start to feel warm, and that you get all that. like happy, dewy, like kind of thing.
A little hysterical.
Right. So
I could see that.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, if picking a way to die, you kind of do the whole kind of in your sleep kind of thing. That's. I imagine that would probably be the way a lot of people would want to go.
Pleasant.
Well, but I mean,
dreaming into your death almost. Like,
but do you though, kind of thing? Maybe
probably not.
Yeah, maybe you get woke up and then you just die, which kind of is like.
I'm awake.
You're like, oh, kind of thing. So, I don't know, if there was a way that you had to go, what would be a way that you would choose?
The largest human slingshot built in history shot straight into the sun. I really want to get shot into the sun now. But realistically,
yeah.
And most people say they want to do it quick, right? I mean, it's that seems to be a very common theme, because nobody really wants to have any suffering as they're going to be at their end.
Guillotine's quick.
Yeah, guillotine. I do the Robespierre blood-curdling scream. What's going to happen? Yeah, I mean, guillotine, but that might be a little hard to come by these days. Thrown from a trebuchet.
Trebuchet.
That's
Good,
kind
good
of like
work,
your
sir.
your slingshot there.
It's pretty close. But make sure the offset weight is of decent, size, like at the top of the trebuchet and then baking in the sun or something. Then it's the end.
That is some trebuchet, galactic trebuchet.
Hung right into
Sounds
a
like a
black
wrestling move or something.
hole. The trebuchet hold. He's got it locked in. It's another goofy one, but because no one's, at least that we're aware of, his experience would be through far space into a black hole or something would be, I would presume, painless, but who knows?
That's spaghettification, getting stretched out.
Yeah, and completely pulled and torn. I mean, there's some brutal things. There was a show on, I don't know, was it History or something that had like all those, I don't know what it was called, something about like, the horrible ways to die or something, and they had that, what is it, the bronze bull?
The bronze?
From, was it the Romans that had that bronze bull, and they would put someone in there, and then they would put it in the sun, and they would just leave the person in there for days and days and days, and to pretty much just like bake and almost liquefy inside. Like it was brutal. Like there's that one. The only I think they actually drilled holes through the nose or the eyes so they could see what was going on and somewhat breathe. But yeah, like it's quite a terrifying punishment. I don't know like what sort of crime you had to commit to be put in there, but anyways, you guys didn't really chimed in there yet.
I was going to say, I was waiting for you to give an appropriate one other than trebuchets to the sun. Fucking indie band there.
Trebuchets to the sun.
Like a
Let's
death
start it.
metal indie band.
That's our RPG's title.
Trebuchets to the sun.
Or that would be a fantastic sports team.
God.
Yeah, in all seriousness, it's a tough call, obviously, but the hypothermia wouldn't probably bother me that much. I mean, I like the cold, so it's not to be like I would be totally at home dying in the snow, but I think that one wouldn't something that takes time, but it's like a slow death that doesn't really, it's not like being burned or something, right? Like the pain is very different. Maybe something to that effect would not probably bother me that much, I guess, if I had to choose that way. Burned by cigarette ash, I don't know.
How about yourself there, Mr. Swagmans?
Or at least a death like by 80s movie, 80s action film. Like,
that's the one that
hung on a hook, shot with an exploding arrow.
As long as it's in slow mo.
I was gonna say, Bill Hicks had this joke about how like old people suffering that they should just put them in the movies. It's like, do you just want to see your grandmother die in a hole, wow, or do you want her to meet Chuck Norris? Yeah. Roundhouse kick her head off.
Kick through a car windshield, while your head goes flying up the back into a garbage dump.
Right. So
some of those 80s horror movies had some pretty goofy, like the Friday the 13th, where Jason like boxes that guy and like punches his head off and it flies into a dumpster.
Or die like
pretty whack ghost.
Die like Goldfinger. It's such
Scaramanga. Now Bond villain death. Those would be pretty good, most of them.
For England, James. No, for me.
That one's pretty good. He doesn't really die, which is ridiculous. Though he falls from like who knows how many meters up, and he's just kind of like, my back.
It hurt.
It takes like the space station thing to drop on him.
Right. Well, I mean, there are those rare instances where people have dropped from, have plummeted
Sure,
from
sure, there are.
thousands of meters up there,
But
but
because it's Sean Bean and he's got to die in every movie, it's like he's got to get more extravagant
hey,
each time or something.
that's a
Have you
spoiler.
have you seen those T-shirts he showed on the picture? It's got hashtag Don't Kill Sean Bean, and there's a picture of himself wearing the shirt.
I haven't seen that.
It's fantastic. Oh, dear.
But how about yourself there, Mr. Swagman? What's a way?
Do you want the appropriate or inappropriate one?
Both
Wouldn't
ways.
steak to the hot.
I think I have, now that you've mentioned inappropriate, I think I have an idea of what it is.
So what do you want to go first?
Well, no, you can go. You can go. It's just I think I have an idea what your inappropriate one is.
Well, I'll go appropriate one first. Is Sushi mentioned it. I know that, not being fantastical because it'd just be too expensive to hire people to get me up there, but hypothermia. But it'd be nice to like die on top of Mount Everest or something, so I could say I was on top of the world. And
I'm on top of the world.
Aren't there a bunch of skeletons on Everest? Like
there are, because they can't bring the bodies back.
Right.
So you'd be kind of crowded, Greg.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the only one, man. I guess you'd have company.
Yeah, being on top of that, I
Bring
was
some
also
chips
thinking.
and drinks. Maybe a party.
Yeah, of course the normal one, would be dying to sleep just peacefully with a smile on your face. The inappropriate one, which also leads me to die with a smile on my face.
He wants to have a heart attack.
A heart attack? Yes.
Oh man, I knew it. I totally knew it. When you said inappropriate, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally what I was thinking.
No, for lovely lady in pure ecstasy. If that's the last moments.
You're so greedy because you have just scarred.
Yeah, that's really greedy.
You just scarred that woman because she's now thinking, oh my god.
Okay, right, like what do you call them? Oh shit, MDA form or something.
A sorry note. Sorry, my bad.
An IOU.
I just died. I just croaked. Thanks for it.
I owe you.
I owe you one sexy time. Kind of thing.
Greg's probably so twisted he would be like, oh, but she'd be impregnated, so my soul would carry on.
Oh god, that's
now
gross.
you've twisted.
That's gross.
I bring that on you, Sushi. You brought that up.
God.
I'm being thrown into the sun by a trebuchet. Don't put shit on me.
Well, now I have to omit condom to this.
Oh, you're being responsible now, are you?
Yeah.
Responsible in death.
I won't give you chlamydia, I promise. I'll just die.
Oh, that's low. Oh goodness.
I mean, I think mine was going to be just a mentioning of the body python meaning of life. How this man has chosen to die, and he gets chased by all the like 20 semi-naked ladies off a cliff.
Death by snoo.
Nah, dude. But in all seriousness, yeah, just in the sleep.
Well, you can't choose that one. That one's off limits because that one's kind of
out of bounds.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I figure most people would, want. A lot of people would want to have a very calm transition from life to death, kind of thing. There. Yeah.
Oh, all right then. Sexy time it is.
Jesus. So we're gonna put that one down as a heart attack.
Is that at least in the backseat of an automobile?
Oh, come on.
Behind a pornographic theater?
Have some class, good sir.
You are using a condom. That is classic. What brand?
Whatever brand is there.
You're a Trojan man, I bet.
One that works.
One that works.
Goodness.
I'm more pissed off that I keep forgetting the form. It's not MDA form. Waiver. You have to sign a waiver. Yeah.
Oh, wait. You're just better off with the IOU.
Yeah, you're better off just having a sticky note.
Or maybe find someone who's dealt with this.
Sticky note on his forehead.
Not even on your forehead,
specializes in it.
just in like a sticky note on the wall, on your wallet or something, just in case if they do rifle through your things. It just says
On the horn of his car, so
Hey, if they're willing to give you that one last time, they can take whatever I fucking had.
you can just be rude. Put it in the glove compartment of your car.
God. Oh goodness.
Medical aid bracelet with an IOU.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's
That
pretty
is
bad.
terrible. You know what? That never even crossed my mind when I asked that question. That is, we all know now where Greg's mind lies. It's in its pants. But
No. It's that line between where it takes turns.
well, right now it resides in its pants. So yeah.
Which kind of is really bad considering the context of the episode. Oh shit.
Goodness. But yeah, for myself, I don't know.
I do not condone necrophilia. I had
As
to
long as you're not
Yeah, as long as you're dead by the time
you're dead,
she's
you
done.
don't care.
I just wanted to throw that just in case some of this stuff thinks that. Like, no. You gotta
Is
cover
his
all
last words
bases.
just gonna be like, I ain't a part of this, and then just die?
Oh god. Oh man. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to go, and like
You said you were going for the wolves.
well, no, I don't want to be eaten. That's no, God no.
What if
Or-
it was heroically?
like being eaten, being crushed. That's definitely not one I would. I would
Yeah,
go that-
crushed might be okay though, like depending on the situation, obviously, right? If it's like a slow, you don't want that, but
Oh
It's
no,
psychological.
because that's what they used to do to people. They would put the big,
well, the blocks and the heads and the crushing the heads and
no.
Seriously, do you want your last moments to be in that pose where you're like, do you really want that as your last
the
moment?
hands up to the
Seriously.
camera, looks at you.
No. The hypothermia one was one that does kind of, I don't want to say appeals to me, but would be one that would seem more accepting as like an easy kind of
Especially if you have a bottle of whiskey.
right. But yeah, to
Drag you down.
I was about to say to push it quicker there to make it colder quicker.
You'd feel warmer.
You'd feel warmer, but you sure ain't warmer.
I know it's not working. Feel warmer.
The drowning one doesn't bother me as much. Like I have almost drowned before too, but it didn't really hit me as much as Greg. But Greg's also done it, had it more times than I then. But
now with the drowning though, Taylor, like if let's say like if you just like say fell out of a boat and you couldn't swim for some reason, like that kind of drowning, or are you talking about like something sort of holding you down in the water? Like if it was me, I'd probably be a lot more panicky if something was holding me down because my brain would be telling me you're trying to get out.
Right. Yeah, you'd be a lot more panicky if you get like I guess if you're thinking about say you're on the high seas there and you fall off a boat or something.
Right, like in the Bering Strait or some vicious water of some kind.
Well, in Bering Strait, you're done pretty quick.
No, I was going to say it's some vicious water. So.
Yeah, so.
You know which one we didn't really bring up is some sort of like falling.
Yeah, I don't want that one either. That one.
Too much like the crushing.
Well, but I do have a fear of heights, and that like.
I've actually thought about it before, and it's like, well, I do like the air, and I've always wanted to associate my demise with my favorite element. That's why I chose the Mount Everest one to be the appropriate one.
Interesting.
Falling. But I said to myself, well, I'm falling back to the earth, so it's kind of redundant. I mean, you can't go upwards unless you're on a rocket, but I'm not going to go as far as the sun. I would go to the ring of Saturn. That'd be awesome to float around
until you hit
Yeah, until you start disrupting those little ice rocks and stuff. See, I'd always thought it would be cool to try to die in attempt to help colonize Mars, or that sort of thing.
the expeditions.
An expedition or something. And things we're kind of at that point where
The frontier.
right, that there's not much else to, unless you want to start doing the deep sea. Was that the Marianas Trench?
Yeah, Mariana Trench, where they're starting to send those mini subs
Right.
for like tourism purposes, right? Not really for. They do have obviously the science excursions, but I've heard like of this new tourist sort of concoction that's being
Let's
put
see,
together.
what's his face? The guy that did Dances with Wolves
Branson?
with Smurfs. What's his name?
What's that?
Dances with Wolves with Smurfs. What's that? Avatar. There we go. The guy who did that.
Cameron?
Yeah, he does he goes down there a couple times.
Yeah.
No, I heard Virgin had, because Virgin was also doing the whatever that rocket thing that's supposed to sort of orbit the Earth.
Yeah.
For tourists, and then they were also doing some research about subs to go down the Mariana Trench and whatnot. And, for rich people initially, and their intention is maybe in 50, 100 years it'll be common.
But yeah, I'd say I guess the attempt to colonize space, whatever goes wrong, whether it be, I'd prefer it not to be a ship exploding, because then everybody just dies.
This is your extreme version, obviously.
No, that would be like that would be like the ideal version there, just because that's so, because when I was a kid I always wanted to be an astronaut, and kind of shot that one out. But so I've always I think that would always be.
Well, that's unavailable at this point, though, right?
But it's not being trebucheted into the fucking sun.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it, but I'm just saying, what about something that's
More earthly?
well, yeah, on Earth?
More earthly?
Except
something
the
that
taxpayer's blind.
isn't necessarily available as an option at the moment.
We assume in that instance
Well-
that you paid for your own trebuchet and the staff helping you.
I'm going to use like a 16th century, Middle England.
Because
Shot
I
out
really
of a
don't know.
cannon.
Well, because I really don't have an issue with how I go, kind of thing. If I go from one thing, or if I die from an accident or something, then it happens. If I fall into some ravine or something and die that way, it so happens. I don't really have a way that I would, I guess that's why I asked, because I was curious to know what others wanted, because I myself, I don't really know. When it does come, I'm just going to kind of, it happens. I'm not going to try to ask the cloaked man of death there to kind of let it come some other time, I guess.
That's the other thing we didn't touch upon. Of course, is different
Mhm.
beliefs of, of course, dealing with death. We talk about death, of course, mentioning death himself,
Dun, dun, dun.
the Reaper. And oh man,
Or
what
herself.
does anyone?
Depends.
Yeah.
Itself, I mean,
It
doesn't have to be
yeah.
gendered.
Azrael, Yama,
Hmm.
Father Time.
Mm.
There's a lot of them that are kind of, they get it gets the male kind of conversation of it.
Speaking of the Reaper, there's a really stupid ad in Australia right now where they're trying to warn Australians not to go near fallen power lines. And before, it was a really serious matter where they did it in a manner that shows the horrors of doing it. Recently, they had a new campaign where they showed death as a llama.
A llama.
And I was like,
That's interesting.
what?
Is that the pale horse? It's the apocalypse, Greg. Run! Run!
Does it
I-
like
I-
spit at you before you're going to die or something? Like, is it warning or some sort of...
Yeah, it's just a fucking white, pale white llama looking at someone like, don't
Pale horse
touch
of
that.
death.
Don't.
Did it have like that zoom in feature where it's like and then it like zoomed on the llama's eye or something?
It did have that dramatic sound, which I wish
The
it
eye of the
did.
beholder.
But yeah, just the guy. This is a really serious ad. Don't touch fallen power lines, and then there's llama death, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, and then my dad's like, a llama, and I was like, oh, you're kidding me. That's terrible.
That's pretty bad.
That's terrible.
I hope they go through a cycle of different animals. Like I don't know what could be next, but
Oh, was it one of my family? My mom said emu. I was like, emu death? That'd be weird. You look at the face and just like, oh. Oh dear.
they do have some funky eyes. They do have some pretty big eyes that they give you a pretty dirty look. They make that sound too. The call of the wild, the call of death.
See, I don't mind emus. It's cassowaries you have to worry about because they're the ones that go after you.
What are those?
Cassowaries are like emus if they had basically they're just the more vicious tempered version of emus. They're a huge bird and they attack everything on sight.
They don't give a fuck. They're just like, whatever. We'll do
Yeah, they're vicious. They're vicious. So, like, you know, I went to the zoo and I saw them once, and it's like, sign, do not put fingers over the fence. They will get removed. So, cassowaries don't mess about.
Well, I guess just there was a couple quotes that I, when kind of thinking about the subject and stuff, that I came across that I thought was kind of interesting. One is from a Stuart Alsop, and it's a dying man needs to die, as a sleepy man needs to sleep, and there comes a time when it is wrong, as well as useless to resist. And it almost kind of paints this kind of very, you know, this, which is true, very futile, kind of resistance towards this natural act. And I think a lot of people might kind of despise that sort of thing because they want to be in control of everything. But I don't know. To me, that's kind of how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. It comes a point when it's going to happen. I'm not going to try to fight it to keep going. I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I don't know what you guys think of that one. Thoughts?
No, it's a pretty sensible way to look at it, honestly. I think the best thing to say in this situation, that if you do have people you care about, or more so people that do depend on you in some stage, you know, it's good to get your affairs in order as well before you kick the bucket. But of course, you don't know when that will happen, like you said. So,
How about yourself, there, Mr. Susabi?
Oh, it's good. I'm not too. I'm not saying I'm not concerned with the end or whatever, but it's just it's going to happen. It's something you have to somewhat get prepared for in whatever fashion, as Greg saying, you know, putting things in order or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's funny. What did you say? There's something like you need to cease existing or something? Is that what part of the quote was? Or
no, it's kind of, you know, a dying man needs to die as a sleepy man needs to sleep. So, you know, when you get to the point where you're dying, you know, it has to happen. Kind of like when you're sleepy, you have to rest. So
right after that, was there not a line that said something about?
Well, no, there comes a time when it is wrong as well as useless to resist. And so
there you go. Sorry, useless to resist. Sorry.
And so it's kind of, you know, it kind of reflects on when you're pushing past the you know, kind of talking about how grandfather and stuff and gets to a point.
I thought you said you need to cease to exist.
Oh, no.
I thought that's what you said.
No.
Like, oh, that's a little harsh.
That's a bit rough, but yeah. And then the last one that I kind of had seen was from good old Albert Einstein. And that the fear of death is the most unjustified of all fears, for there's no risk of accident for someone who's dead. Which, which I kind of think is a interesting way to look at it. It's like, risk everything to stay alive. Don't fear of dying, because when you're dead, you're dead. So.
That is only the way that he could think of it, so...
So, but yeah, we either have these, acceptances, or we try to laugh about it. I know, I brought up the Groucho Marx kind of one there. Gonna try to live forever, or die, I'm gonna live forever or die trying. But it's, yeah, you deal with it how you deal with it, and I don't think there is a wrong way to deal with it. Possibly. I mean, it's... I don't know. It's not my business. So, I think for this one, just kind of saying how I deal with it and how you guys deal with it. So, deal with it.
I think we've dealt with this episode both maturely and immaturely at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was going to say, any other comments or anything you want to add, guys?
No, I think that's about it for me. So,
You two there, Mr. Swaggers?
We pretty much covered everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, this has been a talk about the total and permanent cessation of all vital functions of the organism, also known as death. So if you guys have any sort of comments or things you want to express to get off your chest about this very heavy subject, definitely let us know. And I hope you enjoyed, or at least kind of thought about it. And if any of the things we did say, opinions or thoughts and whatnot, that have offended some people, deal with it. So, well,
and sorry if it's that critical.
Well, no, that's not. It's not like I'm saying that people are wrong to think what they think. It's just, I tend to disagree with what they think when it comes to certain things. Cough, cough, religion, which I know pisses off my mom.
If anyone was
so
offended by the
next episode,
if anyone was offended, if anyone was offended by the sexy time way to go, I can tell you this now: there is way worse ways to go.
So yeah,
that's the way
Greg gets his affairs in order before he has an affair.
I'm not
on the next hard copy.
Oh my goodness. All right. So thanks for listening, everyone, and have a good day.